What's up, guys? We are back. Fitness Profit Multiplier, Anthony and Jimmy. So I got a little surprise for you guys today. And we want to give you guys the unfair advantage when it comes to selling personal training in your market. We're going to go over the do's and don'ts of your sales script. Why is this important? And one of the things that we see all the time is gym owners think they are better salesmen than anything else. In fact, a lot of them don't even have systems around the sales that they're actually doing. They think they are the best salesperson ever. They all think that they're Jordan Belfort on Wolf of Wall Street. And I could say this because I thought I was too. And it wasn't until I actually realized I don't have a sales system. It's more you realize that this is the truth when you go to pass off the sales. And I think this should be one of the last things a gym owner actually passes off. But once you actually pass the sales off to somebody else, that's when you realize, shit, I'm selling out of my back pocket here. And most of the time, you're going to close sales because of your enthusiasm for your own program. That's why you are the best salesperson for your gym, because you are the most enthusiastic. You know that your program is going to help Mr. or Mrs. Jones get into the best shape possible. You know without a shadow of a doubt that if they listen to you, they're going to get to where they got to go. So it's very easy for you to do it. But as soon as you pass that buck to somebody else for them to do, they might not believe that it can be done for them because they might be getting beaten down. Other people are telling them no. So you have to have your sales script analyzed. And this is a big proponent of our coaching program as we look at the sales scripts. These are so, so important. You absolutely have to have a script around selling. I am against not having a script and winging it. That is a big, big mistake. Or having a framework. We call it a framework. I just say scripts because most people understand what that is. But you have to have this scripted choreography around sales. If you do not, this system is not repeatable and you will not get the results that you need in your business. And hence you won't grow to the level that you want to get to.
Not even close. But I can parrot some of what Anthony said in relation to shooting from the hip when you're selling and you're getting into the industry and you're doing it yourself and you're thinking that you're such a good salesperson. But when it really starts to present itself as a reality that you're not as good as you thought is when you have leads that are not warmed up, right? It's leads that are not warmed up and it's passing this task on to a new team member. Because if you have leads that are not warm, that don't already know you and like you in some way because they're coming from your website or they're coming from a referral, you realize that your sales skills are not that good. And they're not that good because you're not used to taking lead sources that are less vetted. And you're not used to managing somebody else's tasks to do it. So your enthusiasm, your tonality, all these things that happen in a sales conversation are going to be different from somebody selling something for you than you selling something for yourself, because they don't see the additional benefit of growing a more profitable business and seeing your vision and your dream come to life. You have that dream in your head and you have to instill that excitement and that enthusiasm into that individual that you're training up. So, I mean, that's one pitfall that people fall into is they don't put enough of that vision and mission into that person that's going to be taking on that role. That's probably the first don't in our list of don'ts, right? You can't just take somebody and look at them and go, you're my salesperson, and just have them do it. You have to put the trust, the vision, the mission, the training, all these things. And it takes training. It's not this thing that you're just going to give up and give to somebody. So there are do's and don'ts of this training in sales, and there's do's and don'ts of what you want to be doing. But in reality, we talk to gym owners and they say, oh, we ask them what their rates are. And they go, well, my close rate is 90% from meeting. And I'm like, one, you don't know your numbers. And two, if that's the case, why do you need coaching? So don't lie to yourself and look at the actual numbers of your sale.
Yeah, 100%. That's a whole nother topic that we can
talk about.
Topic. Having the numbers around your business, and the sales percentages and what to look for. These are metrics that we track with all of our clients because you got to know the numbers. These details allow you to run your business better. So you have to do that. I would say when it comes to selling personal training too, what I've seen a lot of times is people pull it out and they're just like, okay, this is my price sheet. Which package do you want? Like, this is the price sheet. That's how they sell. They just show them the price sheet and say, okay. Or they pick up the phone when somebody dials, somebody calls in and says, so, well, how much is it? And most of the time when people say, how much is it? It's just because they don't know what else to ask. So they're like, yeah, if you come 3 times a week, it's X amount of money. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, thank you. And they hang up. And that's it. No other conversation, no other potential of warming the lead up, no other, okay, let me grab this person's email. Nothing. So those are all the mistakes that you don't want to be selling. The price sheet should be the last thing that you pull out, not the first. And the problem is that when most people pass this stuff off, that becomes the first thing they show.
Yeah, it's not great because yes, in an ideal world, you would just want to be able to walk up to somebody and say, here's my price sheet, and they would just buy, but that doesn't work. So you can't just show them a price sheet. You can't show them a complicated price sheet either. And that's a whole nother topic. But simple pricing, that could be a whole nother episode that we talk about simplifying your pricing. But when we look at it, you have to make sure that you are building value before presenting price, right? That's one other pitfall is people don't build value before presenting price. They just present price, and it puts them in a world of trouble and hot water because it's just not going to work for you long term.
Yeah, you have to kind of justify the price almost, right? Like you can't just. I'm trying to think of an analogy really quick, but like if I went to, I wanted to buy a car, and I'm like, hey, I want to buy this car. How much is it? And they're like, oh, $100,000. If that's at my budget, I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of money for a car. But if they talk about it to me and say, Anthony, this car goes 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds, and this car has this feature, and this car has this and that, and they start building up the value. Now you're like, wow, this is a cool car. I like this. Can you see yourself in it? Drive the car, Anthony. Drive the car. They let you drive the car. Like it's all a shtick. And this is what I was saying earlier. Sales is a choreographed thing. Whenever you use the dealership as an example, it's a choreographed event. They let you drive the car. And notice every car that they give you is the top of the line car. They don't give you the base model Honda when you go to Honda. They give you the loaded Honda. So this way, when you're driving, you see all these pretty features and you start to adjust up. Maybe this is a good one. They always want to sell you the top of the line one, right? It's choreographed. So then after you do all this, then they parade you around and then they sit you down and they go over the whole pricing structure. But again, they're building value before they show you the price. Whereas if I went into the dealership and they're just like, okay, yeah, it's $100,000. Yeah, that car over there is $100,000. What are you going to do? You're just going to kind of like, oh, that's a lot out of my budget. Meanwhile, that could be the car for you. You don't know. Like, this is why you kind of have to do this dog and pony show, so to say, to get people to buy and get them to buy into the product. I'm not saying to con people, but to buy in to why they need this. And again, like I said, car dealers are the best way to do it. It's a choreographed event. Is what's happening. If I was to cold call your gym right now, and this is something we've done with one of our clients, cold call the gym, and somebody answers, yeah, hello, what do you want? Trainers running around training somebody, picking up, and there's loud noises in the background. Like, what is that going to do for a prospective client? And you need to be able to test these things. And again, this is why having a good coach, goes over these things, because these things are vital and so important to your business, because these plug up the holes. Every time the phone rings, you make money, and you have to program that into somebody. If you don't program that into somebody, you are in big, big trouble.
100%. And I love to circle back just a little bit on that. It's the sales process is about creating belief. And you have to create belief in your staff so that they believe in your product wholeheartedly. And then that staff member has to create the belief that somebody coming into your facility believes in themselves to actually execute and actually know that this thing is working for them. So Sales is about belief, guys. If you're not instilling belief in your product or service, just like the car, right? Selling that $100,000 car is about how somebody feels when they're driving it, not about the price tag or how it looks in the parking lot or whatever. How does that person feel when they drive it? How would they feel when somebody watches them drive it? That's what they're selling at the car dealership. And that's what you need to be selling with your people is how are they going to feel in the body that they have after these goals have been achieved? And if you can sell that belief, you'll be in a better state.
You know, it's funny. There's so many different ways that I've seen people sell personal training, right? They have people come in, they have them try it, they have them do a workout. Maybe they'll do like an FMS type of a thing. I've been able to sell people into a personal training, into $1 million facility by doing it via Zoom and never actually touching weights. I've done that for, Jesus, at this point, probably like 12 years I've been selling like that, where I don't actually put them on the floor because it's not about the X's and O's of the training. It's about getting them, like Jimmy said, getting them to buy into that feeling that they're going to have in that new body. Because the X's and O's don't matter, guys. They're not ready to be coached when they're sitting down with you looking to buy. They're not ready to be coached. They need to be convinced that they can do it. If they're convinced that they can do it, they're going to buy, and then they'll buy into the program. Whereas if you try to sell by educating them too much, you're not going to get anywhere. So you don't have to have this elaborate evaluation system. You have to just ask the right question. And you have to be, you know, selling one thing at a time also is the next thing. Like when someone calls you on the phone, you're not actually selling them personal training on the phone. You're selling them the next step in your process. And again, these are the things that we teach you on the inside, I should say. I like calling it that, on the inside, Jimmy.
Yeah. It's funny because Anthony and I have different ways of selling and have both built successful gym businesses. And it just goes to show that it's not about the like X's and O's of the process. And it's really about the questions that you ask. So it's about the questions you ask, the way that you ask them, the order that you ask them in, and the ways that you can be a chameleon in your sales conversation. And that's why we say framework, guys. And if you need help with your script, you can always schedule a call, and for free, we'll help you rework your script. But we always call it a framework because there's this nature of being a chameleon in sales that allows you to convert more people, because you can't just go down a sheet and go, oh, this is the next question, this is the next question, this is the next question on a sheet that you have or a slide deck that you've built. You don't just go and read off the slides. You don't just go and read off the paper. You ask a question, get some feedback, ask that member to go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you can get more out of them and then future pace them along the way, where it's like, when you are here, how do you imagine you'd feel? So it's about how they feel. It's about how they feel now versus how they're going to feel when they use your stuff. It's about what they've tried and how they've failed at things in the past. It's about all these different aspects of getting into the emotional state of that member and turning them from a prospect into somebody who believes. So that's kind of the long and short of conditioning your sale to be successful.
Guys, and if you could improve your closing percentage, let's say your real closing percentage, and I'm going to go based on what Jimmy said before, because that is every time we ask that question, it's like, yeah, like 90%. That's what everybody says. And it's not 90%. I promise you. No, we've sat down with someone and went over the numbers, and it was not 90%. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you're closing at 70%, 75%, which is a good closing percentage. And you bring that percentage to 80, your business, that means like closing 2 or 3 more people every month. So you're doing the same work, but you're netting more of a benefit. That's what these things can do. And if you guys want help in any of that, just click those links below. And until next time, Anthony and Jimmy, Fitness Profit Multiplier, we are out.